Hello, 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 and welcome to the Reinvention Show, the very last Reinvention Show of 2021. This is the place where we come together to explore how do we live in today's uncertain, volatile, constantly disrupted world and not just survive the disruption, but actually thrive in it, actually have some fun with it, actually turn it into an opportunity, into competitive advantage as a chance, turn it into something that allows us to reinvent ourselves and clean up things that no longer serve us. I'm super excited you're joining me for this episode because, as always, this is a special one. And today's guest is one of my favorite people in the whole wide world. We know each other for many, many, many years, and I'm so honored that Cristina could join us. But before I introduce our guest to you, let me know in the comments where are you joining us from, and most importantly, that I want to ask, what are you looking forward to as you look into 2022? Give me where you're joining us from, and then three words that you are putting forward as your words of 2022. What are you expecting? What are you hoping for? What are the big trends you're noticing? Whatever three words come to mind that are your three words of 2022, give me in the comments. I see that Germany is in the house. Absolutely beautiful. Germany is here. I see Portugal is here. Miguel has a question for our guest. He emailed me the question. So, Miguel, start typing the question. Very soon you will have a chance to ask it. Love it, love it, love it. So, Portugal is in the house. Germany is in the house. I'm still in the US. And our wonderful guest is in my home country, even though she is not from Kazakhstan, but currently she serves as a vice president for the region for Visa International. And I'm very happy to say that she's joining us from Kazakhstan. Stas is here from Belarus. Hi, welcome, welcome, welcome. Let me know where you're joining us from. South Africa is in the house. I love how international this quickly is becoming. Africa is here, Europe is here. Americas are here, and of course, Asia is here. Welcome. We're excited to have you. We are honored to have you. Give me in the comments three words that you are choosing as your words of 2022, as you are entering into a new year, as you're closing this year. What are three words that you're bringing into this new year? The year that is by all means promising to be very uncertain, the year that will bring more and more questions to us, and also the year that will bring more opportunities to reinvent. As you're typing up your three words, let me say a few words about our guest today. We met in a classroom. I had an honor to serve as a professor and executive director for a program, an executive MBA program. And in that program, we had amazing CEOs, business owners, executives of every level. And one of them was a vice president of a wonderful bank in Moldova. And she by far was a star in the class. We had people from all over the world, people with years and years of experience. And this was a person who the class relied on when a difficult conversation started, when a big, big project was on everyone's hands. And this is not just an educational program. This is an executive program. Everyone comes in, with their full CV, full of a bit of arrogance and clarity that I will prove everyone wrong. So everyone is rubbing shoulders. But for us, it was important to see that there are people who are also building bridges and are able to create opportunities. And since then, which was, I want to say 13 years ago, we not only became friends, we also tried to support each other and learn from each other. So it's my incredible honor to welcome to the stage the amazing Cristina Doros. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Nadia, for such a warm introduction. And I am excited and thrilled to be able to be as a guest at your show after indeed so many years. We know each other, and so many years I'm so much inspired by you and what you do.
Thank you so much. And of course, those of you who don't know Cristina's journey, Cristina started in finance industry, working in one of the most important banks in the Republic of Moldova, but then got recruited by Visa International. And since then has been on her third country assignment, making progress from region to region, taking on greater responsibilities, and having more and more transitions from more of a functional or product oriented to a full general manager of the region. So I'm excited to hear your insights on reinvention in financial industry. But before that, let me just show you what are the three words that people are speaking about. So what are the three words for 2022? Michael in Germany: momentum, fun, joy. Love that. Dr. Matthews, who is graduating from our Certified Reinvention Practitioner program in South Africa, reinvent. That's the words of the year. I see Rick is here from Germany as well. And I know my team is excited to see you here. So people are choosing a lot of words. What are your three words of 2022? Let me put you on the spot. If you were to look into the new year, what would be the three words that are kind of, this is what I want more of?
Inspiration, wisdom, fun.
I love those. I love those. And let me add to that the question that I ask everyone: reinvention. What is reinvention for you? What is reinvention for you?
That's a great question because now looking backwards, I kind of realized that I lived through reinvention according to all of the kind of rules and laws of the process, not even knowing the word exists. And reinvention for me, I would probably define it as an ability to stay sane and more of that effective. And on the top of that,
Mhm.
kind of uniting people. And on the top of that, managing to have fun out of the so many changes and steps that have been changing in my professional and personal path.
Mhm.
As you mentioned, Nadia, I've spent like 2/3 of my life, I would say, in same country, same city, same bank, the same employer, 20 years. And then the whole journey started with changing countries. So it was Kiev first on the functional side of being a product lead. And then it was Caucasus, moving literally to Tbilisi in Georgia with the whole bunch of the not exactly issues or problems, but the things you have to sort out. And then after 1 year in Caucasus, moving to Almaty, Kazakhstan, to look after Central Asia and Azerbaijan, the kind of huge part of the world here. And that required, as I said, staying sane, staying effective, having fun, and helping people around you to go through that. So to
Mhm.
me, my own ability, hopefully, to do that, that's my own reinvention.
I
That's
love
how
that.
I work with myself, inspire myself, motivate myself, find strength in myself to do all those things.
I love that. I love how it is a habit, a way of being. And as you say, this is becoming a part of a journey. And I always remind we're born reinventors. We're just educated out of it. So reclaiming that power and putting that skill into good use, that's the challenge as we are taught to appreciate stability, to value something that does not change, to believe that stability is something positive and change is something negative. Getting rid of those beliefs becomes very important. And of course, the market helps us with those beliefs. So currently, we have huge changes happening on the financial market and the financial industry. And I wonder, what are the trends that you are paying attention to most when it comes to reinvention in finance? What are some key trends that you are tracking right now?
Yeah, of course. That's a great topic to me because, um, in my kind of very subjective opinion, I may not be an expert, of course, in other industries, but from what I see around and from what I observe, I really think that one of the industries where changes are really becoming like tectonic changes, moving like platforms and continents in terms of the what's happening and with all of the technology development. To me, payment industry is probably mm, the quintessence of the like change in the world right now these days. So if you look into finance specifically, into payments, you would probably so, like as we are looking at it, of course some of the trends that we are more or less used to, such as e-commerce growth, right?
Mhm.
That's obvious. And if before e-commerce, of course, existed for many years, 20 years, I would say, but usually e-commerce would be associated with names like Amazon. Everyone would buy from Amazon, right?
Yes.
But you never expected that you could buy a coffee from a from the coffee shop, like at the angle of your at the corner of your house. Who would think about that before? Of course, pandemic has boosted these things, so
Mhm.
e-commerce is seeing like skyrocketing growth, and that's obvious. We were closed in our houses. We needed
Yeah.
small pleasures like coffees, not to mention more serious stuff. And small and medium businesses, who would ever think that small business would come online, and they are massively going into. So e-commerce is one of the kind of obvious trends, but something we see enormously growing these days. Another one is contactless payments, right? When
Mhm.
you can pay no matter what the form factor is. It can
Mhm.
be a card, as we are used to. It can be my phone, it can be my watch, it can be my payment ring, right? This
Yes.
one. So
Yes.
I can pay with all those devices, and it goes as contactless payments. That's obviously another huge trend we see around the world.
Mhm.
And the growth of these form factors, the number, the array of the things that are now possible to be paid with, that's just mind-boggling to me, really, how quickly we developed that thing. And also another trend which is very powerful and is growing across the world is what we call P2P, or person-to-person payments.
Yes.
If before, thinking about like payment cards or overall card industry, you would usually think of purchases, right? This
Mhm.
is what we're used to. So now it's becoming so much larger,
Mhm.
because it's about not just the purchases, it's about the money movement in
Mhm.
each shape and form. It can be, we have all those funny acronyms like B2B, business to business, B to small b, business to small business,
Mhm.
G2C, government to consumer, and
Mhm.
so on and so forth. So
Mhm.
probably these would be the key trends we're noticing. And furthermore, there are some new trends emerging, which are not so obvious,
Mhm.
probably, and therefore, to me at least, so much more interesting. Things like embedded finance.
Mhm. What does that mean?
Now, yeah, that's a good question. So we are used to finance as a part of the banking usually, right?
Mhm.
This is where you go when you need finance. And now with the technology development, which makes the entry level to banking so much more accessible and affordable to so many new players. There are so like as a result, there are so many new players that can provide those payment functionalities, those payment opportunities. So therefore, embedded finance is something we see really growing across the world and across all types of commerce. Things like BNPL, right, which is very, again, very widespread acronym right now, which means buy now, pay later,
Mhm.
when the transactions amount is being split into
Mhm.
parts, which really ease down that stress of large purchases for consumers. And on the other hand, it really helps merchants to grow their volumes of sales.
Mhm.
So all those things are happening, and that embedded finance really becomes very important. Also, if you think of what we call in-app payments,
Mhm.
like
Mhm.
imagine you are having an app, like which one? Standard one, Booking.com, right? And what can you do there? You can choose, explore, book, and then you pay. And
Mhm.
imagine the, I don't know, gym
Mhm.
application, your gym application where you go for sport, and now you can pay within the application because Visa credentials are being embedded into it.
Mhm.
So that's the whole new
So
world of new types of payments.
let me highlight some of the things for our listeners that Christina is talking about. And I will ask you to also put in the comments what trends in finance and in payment industry you are noticing. So a few things that Christina is talking about. Don't negate the obvious. E-commerce is going through the second renaissance. If you thought that the big trend of e-commerce has passed you and you missed your boat when it was in the late 90s, early 2000s, is simply not the case. My daughter is on her way to school on a regular morning. She orders coffee from her phone, pays on her phone, drops by the coffee shop on her way to school, picks up her coffee ready for her, leaves. That is e-commerce and small and medium businesses going online suddenly accepting payments in a different way. Embedded finance, the idea that the finance services are embedded into other products and services, and those who used to provide those products and services are now functioning as a bank and providing a loan in a new and interesting format. Super exciting. And the merger between the apps and the financial services. So all the payments that happen inside the app, in-app services, absolutely happening all around the world. But let me know in the comments what trends you are noticing and what you are paying attention to. And while you're typing up, let me ask Cristina, as a established company, right? This is one area where legacy companies like Visa, that has been around for decades, that has a very strong position on the market, by far the leader of the market. And by the way, one of the best books in the world ever created was by the founder of Visa International, D Hock. And the book is The Birth of Chaotic Age, this idea of merger of chaos and order, the birth of chaotic age. If you have not read that classic by the founder of Visa, you had that history in you forever and ever. This is who you are. This is your DNA, embedded in your DNA. But you are now disrupted by newcomers. You are challenged by the startuppers. You have competition coming from all angles. How is Visa reacting to all of this disruption? What are you guys reinventing?
If you look at the company's history, indeed, to me, it's a great story of, and again, I wouldn't name it reinvention before I knew the word, but Visa has been reinventing itself since the very beginning. Like, think, Visa, in fact, was the very first startup, fintech,
Yeah.
because we were the first company to create electronic network of payments, right? Which we started with a pieces of cartoon or the paper turned into electronic network. And actually, what grew up from that was VisaNet, what we call. This is the network of Visa connecting more than 200 countries and territories, 3.6 billion payment credentials. This is, by the way, another example of reinvention. We don't say cards anymore because, as I showed on
They're not
myself, it's
cards.
not card anymore. We call it now payment credential, right? The number you have behind the scene. So we have 3.6 billion credentials in the world. We have connected to our network more than 70 million merchant locations. So it's huge network. And this network has always been very closed, right? It was only network available for Visa cards, or only Visa cards would run on that network.
Yes.
And what we're seeing right now, and to me, this is one of the most exciting examples of the reinvention of that incumbent player, which Visa is obviously.
Yes.
We are now opening up, and we opened up our network, providing the access to it. And of course, I don't even have to mention it, in a very secure and absolutely reliable way, not kind of compromising in any way the security, which is like the cornerstone of everything we do. And in this very reliable, responsible, and secure way, we open up VisaNet by providing access to the most popular, the most used payment functionalities to literally everyone. And to kind of bring more practical meaning into what I just said, it means that there is a web page, Visa Developer Platform, which is actually an open door, which has a large number of APIs. Which allow any player, literally, it can be fintech, it can be individual coder, developer, it can be a bank, it could be a fintech, I mentioned that one, it can be merchant location. Like literally every player who tries to embed, to use some of the Visa capabilities, we are providing that opportunity. So these can be embedded into whatever product they are building. So that's, to me, a great example of how Visa reinvents itself and sees itself totally different from where we started from, given everything changing around us. And probably another cool example to me would be that if before, if you would ask me like 10 years ago, who would be the primarily partner of Visa? Of course, banks, the answer would be. And today we are partnering, collaborating, working together with governments, merchants, fintechs, different startups, all types of players are now on our scene and on our radar. Like for instance, in last 18 months, we have more than doubled the number of fintechs we are partnering. So the
Wow.
number is now roughly 180 partners of fintechs are working with
In
us
the region.
in all like possible
Yeah.
shapes and forms. So that's very exciting how we see ourselves as a network of networks,
Mhm.
which connects different networks and kind of pushes them through ourselves. And
Mhm.
this is our strategy right now, from being a very closed, huge, important, very productive and functional closed network to being a network of networks where we connect to ourselves, not
Mhm.
just existing networks, but all types of emerging networks. And this is exciting to me. This to me is a great, great example of the real reinvention, because one my challenge, how much reinventive incumbent players can be. So
Mhm.
my own experience and experience which I live through in my company, hopefully um, reiterates and refocuses that incumbent players can be reinventive. And
And I
that's
think
great.
that's
I'm so happy to be part of it.
this is, I think, is so important for many who've been in business for a long time. The feeling of it's almost like we are always playing catch up because we have legacy, we have assets, we have investments that maybe have not yet fully brought to the conclusion, and we need to figure out what to do with those investment if they're halfway through the amortization. So, what in the heck do we do with investment that is not yet fully played out? Now, we have product legacies, customer legacies, all the beautiful assets, but also burdens that many of the startups do not have. They start from clean slate. They don't need to go through all the hurdles that many of the older companies do. So it's beautiful to see how you are thinking about it. And what I want to invite our listeners to think about is how to apply the same lessons in your own life, business, environment, even though you're in a different industry. For example, playing in the open space, opening up borders, working with traditionally your competitors, because a lot of fintech would be perceiving you as their competitor, especially payment systems and few others. And now you are playing with them instead of playing against them. This idea of a co-opetition, the combination of competition and cooperation becomes so crucial. So many ask us, why are you working in partnership with other consulting companies or with other business schools? These are the two players that would traditionally be perceived as our competition. And we're like, this is the best thing we can do. We actually can create more opportunities growing together rather than beating each other down and decreasing the opportunity for everyone involved. What are your personal stories from the region that are exciting you in the last few years? I know that you mentioned that you are growing in the region rapidly. You also mentioned and showed the ring. I think most people don't realize that that is actually a piece of a card on your finger. That is a payment system right there. That's not a
It is.
joke. You can pay with this ring. This is a secure payment credential right there. But perhaps something else that not everyone knows about, even small stories. I know how much you do in supporting small and medium-sized businesses, especially in remote or challenged locations. There are other forms of reinvention. Maybe there's a story or two from your recent months and years that inspires you.
Absolutely. We're saying, and at least it's my motto,
Mhm.
that global visa is proudly Kazakhstan, or global visa is proudly Azerbaijani, global visa is proudly Georgian. We are so um, focusing on the markets we operate, and not because it's our business. Of course, it's our business, but besides, and I'm truly a believer that we as a company, we can strengthen and grow and support local communities. We can do all that stuff. And specifically, what I love the most, probably, there are two projects which we are running right now. One of those is She's Next,
Mhm.
empowered by Visa, where we support female entrepreneurs, female leaders becoming leaders girls who are just thinking of what they could do or whether they could start their own business. So we run the whole bunch of the activities. And I'm sorry, I don't have much time to go through it in details, but that's something that inspires me so much because you know the Madeleine Albright, the famous saying of her, there is the place in hell for women which do not support other women, and
Yeah.
I'm truly a believer. So I love that idea of the company, global company, supporting local communities for things or initiatives like that. Another one which I think is very kind of relevant in this context is, you may know, or some of our audience may know, that in Kyrgyzstan, that's the country neighboring to Kazakhstan, there is bazaar, a
Mhm.
huge market,
Mhm.
and it's called Dordoy, and this
Mhm.
is the largest in Central Asia. And
Mhm.
this market is actually being source of existence, source of income for more than 60,000 individual entrepreneurs. 60,000 people are working in that market.
Mhm.
And we have started earlier this year, we have started a project to digitalize these kind of unorganized, what you would think of, huge market. Digitalizing meaning that we help the banks, and together with our partner banks, we provide acceptance there,
Mhm.
meaning that we can provide these people opportunity to accept electronic payments. Simply
Mhm.
speaking, these are actually smartphones, which can play a role of POS terminal. So
Mhm.
when you go usually to the shop, you would see that machine, right? Which we
Mhm.
call point
Yes.
of sale, POS
Yes.
terminal. And new technology is now allowing us to bring that functionality and install it into the simple Android-based smartphone, turning it into the POS terminal, which is much cheaper, obviously, much easier to run, to manage, and so on. So we kind of help local banks to expand the acceptance in these markets so that people with Visa credential, Visa cards could use their payment devices or form factors instead of cash. And of course, that's very important for the whole economy of the
Mhm.
country. That's very important for those people who work there because having their record in the bank, their account where they receive
Mhm.
all the volumes of their payments, they can get a credit history.
Yes.
Having a credit history eases their access to finance, to growing their business.
Mhm.
And of course, it's very convenient and secure and comfortable for consumers going there. So that's a long journey, of course. That's a very multifaceted, complicated project. But this is something I'm really very proud of and really very committed to because I'm so sure that's what we need to strengthen and further develop local communities.
And I love that you go straight to the end, let's call it user, right? A lot of what we see in finance industry in terms of legacy systems is a lot of barriers to entry. So it's very hard to enter if you don't have credit history, if you've not been banked, you are unbanked, if you have no digital trace, and on and on and on. So figuring out how do we remove a lot of middlemen, remove the inefficiency, and actually start serving people at the bottom of economic pyramid. Another wonderful book that is a classic and strategy by an amazing strategist, CK Prahalat, who unfortunately passed away from cancer a few years ago. The Fortune at the Bottom of Economic Pyramid, that proven that while most of the world serves the top billion of population, this is what most of businesses are created, the actual value and the change we can create is at the bottom of economic pyramid, people who live on $2 a day or slightly more, and that's the majority of population. So how do we come back to unserved, the silent billions, the ignored billions, and how can we create opportunities for them by removing barriers and removing the middlemen, and therefore making it affordable, but also building our business as well. So I love that, and I know that our audience love it too. I don't know who that is, but this is what I see. Go for the girls. I want to read a comment, a question that I got from Miguel in Portugal, and I know he's watching us as well. Um, there is a lot of uncertainty among everyone, especially small, medium-sized business owners and so on, around this whole new wave, cryptocurrencies. NFTs, all of these acronyms nobody understand. And you're like, am I missing the boat? Do I need to jump on all of this? Or do I, what is your advice in making sense of this very rapidly moving world of finance? What would be your advice as we're closing this show? For those who are watching, by the way, you know that every year there's a word of the year chosen, and NFT is a word of the year for 2021. And everyone is like, what the heck is NFT? Crypto, can you explain? My daughter asked us at the dinner table, can you explain to us cryptocurrency? Which made us force us to go to the history of currencies, the gold standard versus, we went into so much detail. How do we make sense of it? What would be your advice? Where do you find information and how do you make sense of this fast moving world? Couple of points of advice.
So, of course, crypto is a complex thing overall, but ultimately, as all complex things, they're or meant to be quite easy and intuitive for the consumer. And of course, one should go and kind of do the theoretical part.
Mhm.
But on the practical side, indeed, what we see is more and more of the cryptocurrencies coming into the mainstream. And this obviously comes together, and it should go together with the regulators mechanisms, which they now, which emerge right now and are being put in place to make sure that regulators have the whole set of instruments and tools to monitor and regulate these things. And with that, we at Visa, we really pay a lot of attention to this trend, and we have a lot of expertise already kind of built inside the company on crypto, and what we believe is or how that trend can be used by like users and and people who would know more about that is go and buy one, or one can be quite expensive for the test. Go and
One
buy tiny piece
one
of
two
it. Yeah,
hundredths of a Bitcoin,
yeah, not necessarily Bitcoin, right? Because you
any
can
coin.
try other currency, which is not so expensive at the moment, at least. So try it yourself. Treat it as a test. It's not an investment. Treat it as a test. Unless you go there yourself and try the process, see the consumer experience, you cannot really understand what's going on, or your understanding would be really very theoretical. So we at Visa have put in place the kind of already infrastructural things
Mhm.
that help us to kind of embrace this new trend. Like for instance, we have introduced settlement in US digital currency, so called stable coin, right? So
Mhm.
this is the currency kind of fledged by US government, like just
Mhm.
in US dollar, just in digital form. So we have introduced settlement as Visa in this currency, for instance. There is 3.5 billion dollars volume on crypto related card programs already,
Mhm.
where regulators allows that. So a lot of the interesting things are going on there. Probably to make sure you understand what's going on, go and try just
Mhm.
to see for yourself, and we will see how that will unfold.
Yeah, I think that's a great advice for anything you do. Do basic homework and then don't delay action. Most of reinvention is not a spectator sport. It's not something you can do sitting on a couch and watching others reinvent. You have to get off the couch, roll up your sleeves, get some hands dirty, get into the mess and learn in the process. And I truly believe that's a beautiful advice for everyone, whether you are in finance or outside. And as we're closing the show, any wishes for 2022?
As I take it for myself, change itself is changing.
Hmm.
So my wish to everyone would be embrace it, learn to live with it, as I have learned from my at least from my relocations. That could be one good example. So I accepted it with everything I liked or didn't like about it.
Yeah. Love that. Change is changing. By the way, there are a lot of thanks for you as you are giving a lot of insights for people. Everyone, thank you so much for joining. Put in the comments your appreciation, your comments, reactions, additional questions for Christina. And we so appreciate you joining. Thank you so very much. And
Thank you for having me.
there you have it, guys. We're done. This is the end of the show. This is the 2021. We birthed Reinvention show for the second part of 2021. We launched the first episode ever in August. Let me know in the comments if we should continue in 2022, if we should bring more guests, if we should keep building the show and keep hosting the show. And if so, what topics would you like us to cover? What guests you would like to see it. And of course, as we are wrapping up the year, 2021 is about to close. We are going on vacation in just a few minutes. In an hour, we have an official wrap up as a team, and then we're off until January 3rd. As we are leaving for vacation, I want to invite you to rest, to renew, to use this time to quiet down, to decide what do you want to leave in this year and what do you want to take into this new year and how do you want to start the year. And I'm not at all objective here. I have a subjective point of view on how you should start the year. Join us for our free 5-day easy reinvention lab. We start on January 10th with an amazing topic: how to plan for uncertain 2022. And this is a time where we come together as a global community for hour and a half each day for 5 days, work through a workbook one tool at a time, build a plan for 2022 that is deeply focused, but at the same time extremely adaptable. We would love to see you at the lab. We would love to help you start the year strong and reinvent. It's always free, it's always live, it's online. We do offer a very limited time replay so that there is no graveyard of videos for you to watch. We delete all of them after the lab is over. But we would love to see you at the next Easy Reinvention Lab. So you can grab your seat at the table and please have an amazing holidays. Let this holiday season be filled with light. Let it be filled with joy. I hope you are taking time to take care of you. I hope there will be a lot of laughter wherever you are, whether you are greeting this new year alone or the big community, whether you are looking at a very active holiday season or taking it slow. I send you a lot of joy. I send you a lot of light. I send you a lot of warm wishes. And I so appreciate you for being here with us today and throughout this year. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas to everyone who is celebrating, and a very happy new year. Thank you, everyone, and I'll see